She abandoned her family, but fate brought her back. You are welcome once again to Chetnall's Graceful Stories. The morning light filtered through the large windows of Nina Carter's corner office on the 40th floor of a Manhattan high-rise, casting warm streaks across her sleek glass desk. At 34, Nina had everything she thought she wanted. She was the senior partner at a powerful New York law firm, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, and a wardrobe fit for runways. But her hands trembled slightly as she held the letter from a small firm in Cleveland, Ohio, which had the final divorce decree. She'd been expecting it, but the phrase that stopped her breath was what was written. Mr. Jacobs wishes to proceed with establishing his new family unit and requests all future communications cease permanently. A new family unit? It felt like being hit by a truck. 6 years ago, she had walked out on Eli Jacobs, her husband of 3 years, and their newborn son, Ethan. She'd believed back then that she was too ambitious for their simple life. Their apartment above his modest auto shop had felt like a cage. When Damian Whitmore, her wealthy client-turned-lover, offered her a way out, she took it. Now seeing this cold, final declaration that Eli had moved on, her walls started to crumble. Her assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Miss Carter, Mr. Whitmore is here for your 10 a.m. appointment." She shoved the papers into her drawer, but not before noticing the last line. "The minor child's well-being remains the primary concern in all future arrangements." Ethan, her son, was 6 years old now. He probably had missing teeth and maybe playing soccer. A little boy who probably didn't even remember her face. Damian, her lover, walked into the room. He was tall, silver-haired, exuding the same elite charm that had once pulled her out of her old life. "Nina, darling, you look pale. Everything all right?" His voice carried that slight accent that had once made her knees weak. She forced a smile, but seeing him now only intensified the memories flooding back. Damian represented everything she'd thought she wanted. Sophistication, wealth, freedom from the mundane struggles of ordinary life. That was 6 years ago. Nina had been 28 years old and had made a decision on impulse by abandoning her family for a new lifestyle with Damian. Today, instead of excitement, Nina felt hollow. Damian had been her escape from a life of poverty, but Eli, her ex-husband, had been home. For days, she couldn't focus. She contacted Tyler Quinn, a private investigator she'd used professionally before. "I need information on someone," she said. "Personal." Within 48 hours, she had the file. Eli Jacobs, age 35, owner of Jacobs Auto Repair. Same address for the last 8 years. Then came the shock. 3 lawsuits, 2 hospitals, and a billing agency. Over $90,000 in medical debt. Tyler's notes had details sealed. Child involved. Ongoing payments. Nina dropped the file. Ethan, her son, had been sick, very sick, and Eli had faced it all alone. He was working 3 jobs, garage owner by day, auto parts clerk on weekends, and tow truck driver at night. She wept. Her child had nearly died, and she hadn't even known. That night, Nina could not sleep. The next day, she flew to Cleveland. Her old neighborhood was a shell of what she remembered. The blue house on Linden Avenue looked exactly the same, porch, swing, and all. But she couldn't go there, not yet. Instead, she visited Maria Lopez, her former neighbor. Maria had babysat Ethan once or twice, and they used to share coffee and late-night frustrations. Maria answered the door and froze. "Nina Carter," she said with ice in her voice. "You've got nerve." "I need to know what happened," Nina begged. About Eli, about Ethan." "You really don't know?" Maria's face softened slightly, but her eyes stayed wary. "That boy has been through hell. Diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago. Eli sold everything to pay for treatment. Never asked anyone for help. He just kept on working himself to the bone." Nina collapsed into a kitchen chair as Maria filled in the gaps about the hospital stays. Lost weight, sleepless nights. Eli telling Ethan his mother was away, helping other sick kids. A lie, a beautiful and heartbreaking lie. "He told Ethan you were a hero," Maria said bitterly. "So he wouldn't hate you." Nina couldn't speak. "And now," Maria added, "he has help, a real partner. A woman who stayed. Don't go to that house. Don't mess it up again." But the next day, Nina couldn't help herself. She waited near Cedar Elementary. Her breath caught when she saw Ethan, a little boy in a faded Guardians jersey, smiling wide as he ran into the arms of a woman in pale blue scrubs. Grace Kim was her name. She was petite, warm, and focused woman. She examined Ethan's face, listened to every word he said like he was the center of her world. Nina followed them to the market. She watched Grace let Ethan pick out fruit, watched her laugh at his jokes, watched her be the mother she never had the courage to be. Nina stayed in her rental car outside the market, watching Ethan and Grace walk back to their car. He held her hand the entire way, swinging their arms with childlike joy. Grace opened the door and helped him buckle in, checking his seatbelt twice before shutting the door with care. She didn't rush. She didn't seem burdened. She just loved him. Nina couldn't move. Her chest felt too tight. Her son, their son, had survived a devastating sickness. And this woman had been by his side while Nina was chasing verdicts and closing billion-dollar mergers. Her hands gripped the steering wheel, heart screaming to run over, to drop to her knees, to tell Ethan she was his mother, that she had never stopped loving him. But the truth was, she had stopped showing it. And now someone else had taken her place, not just physically, but in the only way that mattered. She didn't follow them anymore. She didn't knock on Eli's door. Instead, that night back in her hotel room, she wrote a letter. It wasn't for Eli. It was for Ethan. Dear Ethan, you don't know me, but I've known you from the moment you took your first breath. I held you in my arms the day you were born, and you changed my life forever. I made a mistake, the kind that people spend lifetimes trying to fix. I ran from love because I didn't think I was enough. I chose a path that seemed easier, shinier, and faster. But it led me away from the one thing that ever really mattered, you. I saw you today. You were smiling, happy, safe, and that's all I've ever wanted for you. You have an incredible dad who has given you everything he has. And you have someone who loves you like her own. And from what I saw, she's doing an amazing job. I don't expect you to understand me or forgive me. I'm not even sure I deserve that. But I want you to know this. You are brave. You are strong. You are deeply loved always. I will carry you in my heart for the rest of my life, whether you ever choose to know me or not. With all my love, Nina, your first mother. She didn't sign it with Mom. She hadn't earned that anymore. She placed the letter in a plain envelope and mailed it to Maria, with a note asking her to give it to Eli to do with as he saw fit. Nina flew back to New York 2 days later. The city looked different now, not so bright, not so victorious. Her office felt colder, her apartment emptier. But for the first time in 6 years, she wasn't running. She started taking pro bono family law cases, joined a pediatric cancer charity board anonymously. On weekends, she volunteered at a local shelter, helping single parents find housing and legal support. She never heard back from Eli or from Ethan. But once, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, she got a small package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a folded child's drawing. A boy with sandy hair and a wide smile stood between a man and a woman in blue scrubs. Above it, written in crooked handwriting, "My family." And in the corner, a small heart drawn in red crayon, with the name Ethan signed underneath. Nina pressed the paper to her heart and wept. She hadn't been part of the picture, but somehow she'd made it into the frame. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. Regret has a cruel way of arriving late, when the damage is done and the silence is deafening. Nina learned too late that chasing success at the expense of people leaves you hollow at the top. Selfishness doesn't always wear a villain's face. Sometimes it looks like ambition, independence, or doing what's best. But when love is sacrificed on the altar of personal gain, no victory is truly worth it. People aren't stepping stones. They're not chapters you close or roles you abandon when life gets inconvenient. The way we treat others, especially the ones who trust and need us most, matters. It echoes, it shapes destinies. Nina didn't get her son back. She didn't get redemption wrapped in a reunion, but she learned something great. That love is not just a feeling, it's what you choose to show every single day. And when you fail to show it, someone else might step in and do what you didn't. Let Nina's story be a reminder. Don't wait until it's too late to show up for the people who matter. Choose presence over pride. Choose love over ego. And above all, don't let selfishness write the story. You'll spend the rest of your life regretting. Thank you for watching. If you were touched by today's story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Chetnal's Graceful Stories. Here we tell stories that speak to the heart and remind us of the beauty and grace, growth and second chances. Until next time, stay kind, stay hopeful, and keep believing in the power of a graceful story.